Hello, my name's Andrew Bryant. I'm an author, speaker, and coach. Recently, I posted a blog on LinkedIn that got a lot of attention because this blog was about a model that I just conceptually use when working with clients. And it's a pyramid. And this pyramid, on its base, has technical skills because as a leader, if you don't know your own stuff, if you aren't technically proficient, then really you're leaving yourself and your team extremely vulnerable. The next way we really measure any kind of personal or group leadership is through execution ability. The ability to get the job done, which is usually working together in a reasonably small team with a clear objective. And that requires taking yourself beyond just your individual ability and having some communication, the ability, as I said, to work with a team and to push through the challenges that you will face and to execute, to get it done. It is no good being technically brilliant if you cannot, at the end of the day, create a product or a service that somebody will purchase. So over above execution ability, we need some other elements of the pyramid. The next level of the pyramid is, in fact, collaboration capability. Now, it's a nice alliteration, I'm sure you agree, but what do I mean by collaboration capability? People intuitively work quite well with small teams when everybody's aligned to one objective. Where people actually need to develop leadership skills is in collaborating with other teams which have different makeups and perhaps slightly different objectives, although those objectives should be aligned with the greater organizational strategy. So, for instance, sales needs to work with operations, marketing needs to work with finance. And how do these teams collaborate? What is the capability? Well, the ability is to be able to handle conflict, and that conflict is always a difference in perspective, should I say. So, as humans, we tend to be very defensive about our own way of seeing the world. This isn't particularly useful in an organization. We need to be able to step back and take a big picture. And when working with teams around collaboration capability, I teach them to ask the question, what's important to you about that? Now, we assume that what is important to us is immediately important to those that we're working with or collaborating with. But anybody who has been involved in negotiation knows that what's important to me is not necessarily important to the other party. Both obviously want to get a good price, but one is in trying to get a resource and one is really trying to get rid of a resource for a profit. But what's important to each is different. And collaboration capability at its heart is realizing that it's needs first, solution second, in that we tend to prescribe solutions without diagnosing the problem. I come from a medical background where prescription without diagnosis is in fact malpractice. So to collaborate, we have to step back in our own mind and realize that what's driving somebody else is not necessarily driving you and vice versa. However, we both probably have one thing that is working for us, and that is that we're both part of a larger team, the organization. And that just like a human body, the brain cannot survive without the lungs cannot survive without the heart cannot survive without the digestive system. And the kidneys, the pancreas, everything comes into play. Each has a specific role but needs to work together. Each has different needs. And so the alignment of those needs, asking what's important to you about that, is at the heart of collaboration capability. Building on collaboration capability, we have influence and impact. Now, even if you have the most fantastic technical ability, if you are unable to communicate that with influence and impact, your effect within the organization and in fact your career prospects are significantly limited. So influence is, in my opinion, the ability to get a willing yes. I mean, we can persuade, we can cajole, we can manipulate people to give us a yes if we have power. But influencing with impact is this inner gravitas or weight or substantiveness. What if people really knew that you knew what you knew, that you were as good as you are, without you even having to open your mouth? Wouldn't that be fantastic? Your ability to just be present and communicate is really the core of this. And in communication training or presentation skills training, I always spend a lot of time coaching people to have this influence, this gravitas. Now, how do you get that? Well, the people with influence impact have a clear why they are communicating, why they are taking action, why the audience should listen to them, why the audience should take action. So influence impact is always about having a big why. In collaboration in collaboration capability, I was sharing with you the question, what's important to you about that? Well, the influence with impact individual is always asking what's important about what I'm saying, and what's important to the audience, and connecting those two things is the core of influence impact. So once we have collaboration capability, we have influence and impact, or influence with impact, then really we are at the point where we can tell any story we want to tell. The story of change, the story of transformation, the story of success, the story of overcoming challenges, because a story starts with the hero, the protagonist, and the protagonist always faces a challenge. Now, in the organizational story, the protagonist, of course, is the organization itself. A number of organizations have transformed as the world has changed. And your ability to communicate that within your own team. Here is something I learned that enabled me to be stronger. Is a classic story. Something I learned that enabled me to be stronger. The simplest story structure really is, this is where we are and why we are here. This is the challenge we're facing, and this is where we need to be. And if you can structure that story, if you think about it, it's a storyboard really with 3 panes. Larger storyboards will let you know, who is the hero, who is the enemy or the antagonist, what are the challenges, what are the learnings. And so the simplest story structure is, here where we are, here's what we're facing, and here's where we're going. Now, the importance in telling a story is to get those clear in your mind and to practice them before you tell that story. So I've been telling a short story really here in this video, really around the pyramid of leadership development. And if you are technically competent, you're able to manage challenge, that you can influence with impact, and you can tell an effective story that gets people behind, then you're well and truly on your way to leadership. Now, of course, we go up and down this pyramid repeatedly. As we get better, we need to go back to the foundations and cycle back to the top. So I wish you all the best in your leadership journey. As an executive coach, if I can help you out, feel free to contact me. If you'd like me to speak at your conference, then that would be my absolute pleasure. I travel globally to do that. In fact, my next video to you will probably be coming from Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. So my name's Andrew Bryant. Thank you, and goodbye.